Does internet porn know you're cheating on it?
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'll be doing another reaction, and this is a YouTuber that I've never ran across before. He looks like he has 2.2k subs, and I'm not sure how this is going to go, but yeah, we'll react to it. And the reason I decided to cover this is because of the recent Batman game that I'm covering, and Gotham Knights was kind of like that. Okay, it's not the Arkham trilogy or anything in line with it, but it's not quite Suicide Squad. So I still haven't played it. I'm curious about where it's at in the 2024 space, if it's come along at all or if it's just as bad as they said it was. Anyways, yeah, let's get into it. This is by Cliffhanger DK.
Gotham Knights had a rough launch. Critics and players alike slammed it,
leaving this experience neither the one fans deserve nor the one they need right now.
There was literally always something going wrong to make sure I wasn't experiencing the triumphant return with my friends.
But is it as bad as they say, or is there something worth playing here? Today, we're digging deep into what works, what doesn't, and whether this game deserves a second look. I'm Cliffhanger DK, and in this video, we're dissecting Gotham Knights, the game that promised a fresh Bat Family experience, but left many disappointed. Is it worth your time now? Is it...
Yeah, what I was really disappointed in is one of the big failings of Arkham Knight is that you kind of briefly got to play in parts of the Bat Family and in the DLC and just the side stuff. You'd team up with them, but there was no way, like from Arkham City where you could switch fully to Catwoman, you couldn't switch to these other characters to play. That was a huge disappointment. So I was always kind of intrigued by this, but that was simply because in Arkham Knight they had you play as all these badass characters besides Batman, and you barely got to touch them at all.
Really that bad?
Ooh, I like it.
This is the first time I'm playing the game for myself, so together let's see if this misunderstood title has more going for it than meets the eye.
Plus, I think it's co-op, isn't it? It might be the first Batman co-op game outside of like that weird shooter they did forever ago. I forget what it was called. But yeah, I think this would, if it is co-op, it would definitely be more fun with a buddy or two.
Let's start with something that's quite important, the combat. At first it feels clunky and slow. You're expecting Arkham-style fluidity, but what you get feels heavy and a bit sluggish. That can be off-putting, but once you unlock more skills, there's a rhythm that starts to emerge.
I mean, the animations don't look bad, to be honest.
Not as a Batman game, but as a brawler set inside the Batman universe. While the combat never reaches Arkham's iconic smoothness, it does have moments of satisfaction. You'll need to learn the enemy patterns and string together your moves to feel any real fluidity. The skills and gadgets become more fun as you progress, but you have to put in the time to get there.
Take this.
Now, the Bat Bike is where things really fall apart. It's such a cool idea, right? Riding through Gotham on a high-tech bike, it sounds...
Yeah, but I know it's always going to be compared to it, but you just from this look alone, like this is nothing compared to Arkham Knight, the city. And if you're going to have vehicle traversal, you just need to, it needs to be at least on par with Arkham Knight, because there's not only years apart from when these games came out from one another, but it's just, you're always going to be compared to the last game. And that's one thing I noted right away. And anytime I saw any footage of this game, it was just, ooh, the city looks very flat, and it's Arkham Knight the city, Gotham, still holds up today, and nothing has come close to it, at least in like the DC universe. And yeah, this is clearly not up to par.
But in reality, it's painfully slow and feels almost pointless. What you're seeing on your screen right now is me going as fast as I possibly can on this thing.
Ooh,
you don't get any cool chase sequences, no high-speed thrills.
That's disappointing.
It's there to take you across the city's bridges. What's even worse is that later in the game, you unlock way cooler transportation options.
Oh yeah, that looks a lot better.
Somewhat irrelevant, but we'll get to those in a minute. The most frustrating part is that Gotham...
Yeah, I think it could be, if they had like, I'm sure you can achieve this with a cheat engine or like a trainer of some type on PC, which is what's great. But if they made the speed of the bike like 2 or 3 times what it is, it seems like it would at least look and maybe even feel so much better just from a simple speed increase.
Empty streets don't do the Batbike any favors. It feels more like you're navigating a simulation than a living city. And the physics, I mean, colliding with cars feels completely off. There's no weight, no impact. It's like 2 cardboard boxes colliding.
Yeah, they just smack into each other, no collision.
Gotham
That's
itself is
on par with a lot of other
most
crappy
iconic
games.
and vibrant cities in the DC universe. So why does it feel so lifeless here? The open world in Gotham Knight feels more like a sandbox.
I think the color palette right here is actually quite nice. That's the one thing I will say about this city. They still, if anything, Arkham Knight was a little bit monotone, which I get what they were going for, but it could have used a little bit more color. And here it's a really nice color palette. But yeah, the actual city itself definitely would need more adjustments.
There are barely any pedestrians, and the random crimes that pop up feel repetitive and uninspired. The open world has the potential to be a playground for heroes, but it's mostly just a stage for generic brawls. And it's not just the lack of life, it's the way the world is designed. There's no real dynamic interaction, no crowds to disperse, no chaos to bring.
Yeah, the population seems really low.
A few thugs and some.
Because Gotham is like jam-packed with people, and it's a high population city. And the reason that they didn't have that in the previous games is they always had a narrative excuse. Maybe there is one in here, but I don't think I heard that there was one. Because in the Arkham games, they always like evacuated the Arkham City and Arkham Knight. They evacuated the city. So it's kind of an excuse, as in everyone you're seeing is just the thugs. And that's the reason things are a bit more sparse.
Scripted crimes that.
But here, this doesn't seem to be the case. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Feel like a living Gotham. It's more like a game set piece. Each character also unlocks.
And it takes you out of the immersion.
Styles fairly early in the game. One is familiar. One is practical. One is kind of cool, and this one, which is a bit jarring. For some reason, Red Hood can jump on floating.
To be honest, though, this still looks like 100 times better than Suicide Squad. A low bar, but still, this, in my opinion, looks way better, especially it's a basic UI, but compared to the mess that is Suicide Squad, this is infinitely better.
Space paths? The passable traversal and the lack of variety in character in Gotham itself is disappointing. Especially because Sony actually showed how this could be done 4 years earlier with the release of Marvel's Spider-Man in 2018.
Spider-Man also got like the tone and the color palette really good for what it was trying to achieve. Like it fit the Spider-Man universe. And like I said, the color palette isn't bad in Gotham Knights, but the city itself does not feel like what Gotham should feel like, or rather look, since I haven't played the game. But just, yeah, looking at footage, there's a clear distinction there. Spider-Man's the clear winner in terms of what's more authentic.
but at least the story shows some promise. It focuses on how the Bat family copes with Batman's death, and some of the character moments are genuinely emotional. The custom-made story levels also stand out, offering some of the game's best designed content. These missions let you dive deeper into the relationships between the characters.
I recognize some of these jerks. They're all known gang members.
Yeah, what this is really reminding me of too, like with kind of like the cutscenes without them in character and they're just kind of hanging out at the base, and some of the narrative and dialogue I've heard, it really reminds me of Midnight Suns. It's from the makers of XCOM games. And it's an amazing game in terms of gameplay, like with the card battle system. Even if you're not into card battles, even if you're not into superheroes, damn, those guys know how to pull off really good strategic combat. Even if you're not part of the genre, it's absolutely amazing. But where things fall apart is some of the story and dialogue. When you go back to base and you have to talk with the characters and talk about your feelings and other things. Everything in between, it's either hit or miss, but the combat is, and the actual gameplay is absolutely mind-blowing, and just the buildup of power, like going into New Game Plus and working your way through the difficulties. It almost has like a Diablo-style difficulties. So there's like, 7 to 9 different difficulties, and you slowly go up through them as you get stronger. It's great, but I don't know. This just kind of reminded me of that because that was kind of the weak point of Midnight Suns. It gets a bit better with like when you work through with the DLC characters like Deadpool and Morbius and some others, but was it Storm and Venom, I believe? Yeah, they're much better done, but yeah, I would definitely still go advise anyone to go play Midnight Suns. Like in terms of gameplay and like the soundtrack too, especially in battles, there's some really catchy tunes. It just, man, for a card battle system, you don't expect much, but that game is highly underrated just because the like day-to-day almost life sim game, almost like a Persona game, but not quite up to par to that, is just so almost cringe-inducing at times in the worst possible way that it just deters people from actually enjoying the rest of the game. But on a sale, it's good. Like a good $20, $30 game. It's amazing. And it's highly overlooked by people just because of that one aspect. But the actual gameplay, if you want a good card game, good strategy, man, I'm not a big XCOM person, but wow. I love that game so much in the gameplay department.
Really explore the Batman's rogue gallery. So, what the open world lacks, the story missions try to make up for. The narrative moments are well done, and the environments feel like a return to the more structured design we loved in the Arkham series. These missions make up only a small part of the overall game. The rest of the time,
that's
we're
sad to hear.
stuck in the open world dealing with filler content.
Better check this out.
The investigation, it is investigation. Oof.
And there's also
That looks
the
rough compared to the
crafting
Arkham games.
system that feels like an afterthought. You've got stats to manage and gear to craft, but none of it feels like it matters. It's a grind, and the payoff.
And if anyone knows like the development hell this game went through, it's kind of obvious why this fell short, because it's all leftover stuff from them trying to make this into a big live service game and gear grinding game, and they kind of changed things last minute, and they could only change so much, and they were trying to keep it more single player towards the end. Again, I don't know if they did keep in any form of co-op. I think the game would be much more fun if it did have it in there, but I don't know for sure. I think that this would be good as like a 2-player co-op game just to mess around with buddies, maybe get it on sale for like 10 or 15 bucks.
Payoff just isn't there. But there's a silver lining, and those are the cosmetics. The costumes you can unlock are awesome, and those are the cosmetics.
That is a badass outfit. I really love like the Red Hood in general, but yeah, that's an amazing costume right there.
Costumes you can unlock are awesome, and they do add some flavor to the game. It's pretty cool to pick
pretty big
between
variety.
a bunch of iconic suits, even if the crafting itself is tedious. Upgrading gear feels more like a chore than something.
And those don't look to be DLCs. They look like they're actually unlockable in game, which is amazing.
Exciting.
These
You'll
days.
swap out items quite often, but they don't make a noticeable difference in combat. It's as if the RPG elements were thrown in to check a box rather than to
Leftover
enhance
from
the
development hell.
experience. But those costumes, they're detailed, they're stylish, and they're the kind of fan service that works.
Okay, can you stealth
Let's
kill in
talk
one hit?
about the stealth. It could have been a real standout mechanic in Gotham Knights, but it falls short. Controls are clunky, specifically
Because it is RPG based, so your stats have to be compared, and there's a lot to say what's wrong with modern Assassin's Creed, but one thing that they did learn is that even with all the RPG stats, they added in an option, regardless of your strength, as long as you get a stealth kill, it is always a confirmed kill, and it's not based on your stats. So I wonder if they do that in here, because that's definitely something great to have, whether you're into the RPG system or not. I think stealth kills should, for the most part, be just instant death or instant knockout, I guess, in this case.
the button for quiet takedowns is the same as your ranged attacks. So if you're not perfectly aligned, you'll fire a weapon instead of taking down
terrible.
an enemy silent. It breaks the immersion and adds unnecessary frustration.
Especially if you're trying to do an all stealth run and then you fuck it up.
Emphasize stealth in certain missions. You'll go in with the best intentions, sneak around, avoid detection, but one slip and you're in a full-blown brawl. It's frustrating, especially when the rest of the game already feels unpolished. While the game is somewhat clunky in many ways, at least playing co-op with a friend adds a layer of enjoyment that's missing in solo play. It's more fun to coordinate attacks and explore
He said solo play, so I imagine that there is some form of co-op.
Gotham together, but the constant huge logo hovering explore Gotham together, but
yeah, he's clearly playing with someone else there, so there is co-op. Okay.
The constant huge logo hovering over my
that makes things a bit better.
It was a real distraction.
Playing with friends will always elevate a game higher than it normally would be just playing it solo.
It took me out of the experience, especially when the game already has immersion issues. That said, if you're looking for something casual to play with a friend and don't mind the flaws, the co-op experience might just be enough to keep you engaged. So,
it's probably on a deep sale by now too.
Really that bad?
I'm guessing you can get it for like $20 or less at this point.
Combat gets better, but never excels. The open world is lifeless, but the story missions offer brief moments of potential.
Then we go find Harley. Now.
Crafting is tedious, but the costumes are fantastic. In the end, it's a good fan service package, but it's wrapped in a game that just doesn't live up to its potential. If you're a huge fan of the universe, or you're just looking for some co-op fun, you should pick it up. But wait for a deep discount. At full price,
This guy uses CD keys just like me. It's my #1 go-to place. They're great. They're not a black market either, for those wondering. They're like Green Man Gaming. That's a legitimate one that everyone knows. They're on the same line here. So if you ever want a discount even on new games on PC, and no, I'm not, obviously, I'm way too small to be sponsored at this point. But I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but damn, yeah, I've been using them a long time. Haven't had any problems I can think of, and you always get great discounts with them, just like from Green Man Gaming. And their pre-orders have been good too, so I haven't had any issues. Definitely go check them out.
It's not worth it. Now, are you curious about other controversial games?
But yeah, if it's that low, I imagine it'll be like $5 to $10 normally. You could probably find it for. So that for a co-op game, co-op mid game that you could just like mess around with and maybe do a single playthrough, that's a good price. Yeah.
Check out my deep dive into the Callisto Protocol, where we uncover what went wrong and what surprisingly worked. Subscribe for more and click here to see if the Callisto Protocol is really as bad as they said.
All right. Yeah, that was a really great video. I can't believe this guy only has 2.2k subs. Definitely go subscribe to him. Like his videos. I think I'll check out some of his other content in the future. That's Cliffhanger DK. All right. Thanks very much. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.